Before we start, I just want to specify that this is the third and final video of a three-part series on the Max Payne Trilogy. If you're just interested in Max Payne 3, then keep on watching. If you like the series as a whole, I suggest you check out my prior two videos. Also, I want to give a big thank you to you guys for 1,500 subscribers. That's a number that I'd never thought that I'd see, so thank you so much for that. Now, on to the video.
I didn't want to think about what would be happening on that video feed now. Just my own imminent cameo.
Rockstar isn't known for their speedy production of games, especially in regards to making their sequels. It was 5 years between Grand Theft Auto 4 and Grand Theft Auto 5, and today it's been 7 years since 5 was released. Red Dead Redemption 2 took 8 years, and let's not forget about the games left in the dust, like Bully, Manhunt, The Warriors, and Midnight Club. So after Rockstar acquired the Max Payne IP, and Max Payne 2 was released to fewer sales than the first game, it's really no surprise that it was shelved to put production towards Grand Theft Auto 4 and its expanding universe. Meanwhile, fans still love the guy. Max Payne 1 and 2 gained a massive cult following, topping many a best games of all time lists, and continuous demands for a sequel seemingly fell on deaf ears. Enter Dan Houser, the writer and co-writer behind some little titles like Grand Theft Auto 3, Grand Theft Auto Vice City, Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, Grand Theft Auto 4, Bully, and the reddest, deadest redemption there is. At this point in time, Rockstar is one of the biggest studios in the world, and Dan Houser is the top guy in the building. He also just so happens to be a massive Max Payne fan, and he decides that he wants Rockstar to make a third game. And Danny gets what he wants, so he got to writing.
This was the place, if not the time, to play my dirge. It didn't come out right, but I wasn't in much of a state to do anything, apart from kill people. Maybe that's the only thing I'm good for in any circumstance.
Treading Lightly was the name of the game when it came to producing the third title. Max was Remedy Entertainment's baby, and Rockstar didn't want to step on any toes on doing any character development or events that happened in the first two games. Dan wanted to uproot Max from his home. This was going to be a fish out of water scenario. Instead of a dreary New York City, former Detective Payne is dropped off in the colorful favelas of Sao Paulo, Brazil. The game takes place 9 years after the events of Max Payne 2. A much older Max takes the role of a contracted private security for the richest family in Sao Paulo. Most of the time the job goes great. He babysits drunk, entitled millionaires and sits back with a drink himself. But shit gets stirred up real quick when a kidnapping kicks off the crazy events of the game. You go through everything from drug trafficking, human trafficking, organ harvesting, and deep-rooted political and police corruption and conspiracy. It's a pretty heavy game. I enjoyed Max Payne 3, it's a legitimately great time, and I'd recommend it to anyone who enjoys action shooters. I personally don't think that it's a great follow-up to the prior two games. As far as the series goes, I consider it the weakest game of the three. I know, if you haven't clicked off yet, let me just explain myself.
So this was it. My easy retirement money. My blood-stained 401k. A chance to drink for free while chaperoning socialites around town and making sure the poor people didn't get too close. The brochure sure didn't mention any of this shit.
Dan Houser isn't a bad writer in any sense, but it's very clear that he's not on the same level as Sam Lake, at least not in regards to Max Payne. He didn't grip the character or the themes of the game the way that Lake did. Max Payne 1 and 2 were self-aware titles. They were exaggerated and downright ridiculous, but they embraced it. The focus was always the noir narrative, and the gameplay was like an overinflated story that someone tells after they do something crazy, because that's what it was. It was Max's recollection of the absurd. It was all hyperbole, and it flaunted that. Max Payne 3 made the mistake of taking itself too serious. It tried too hard to be epic, ultra polished, and nothing short of a blockbuster hit like most Rockstar titles. And this works for Rockstar. It's why they're one of the best at AAA games, but when it comes to Max Payne, he just isn't AAA. The campy, amateurish, low-budget allure that the series was established on defined the feel for the game. The game started with a broke, unknown studio, and those factors contributed greatly to the tone and aesthetic of the game. Rockstar also just dropped so much of Max Payne 2 that we never quite get an explanation for. Max seemingly forgot about Mona Sachs, the literal focus of the entire second game. And according to Remedy, the ending where Mona survives is canon, so in Max Payne 3, Mona should still be alive, but she's never even mentioned. We also don't get a follow-up to the corruption that's in Max's own department. Max literally shot and killed his fellow detective while assisting Mona, a contract killer. It's all stuff that would have been okay unanswered if the story was left uncontinued. Things don't need to be explained, you can kind of imagine your own outcomes to the situations. But now that the story is continued, we can't just go off our imagination. Rockstar should have at least addressed the ending of Max Payne 2, or acknowledged the game at all.
The way I see it, there's two types of people. Those who spend their lives trying to build a future, and those who spend their lives trying to rebuild the past. For too long, I've been stuck in between, hidden in the dark. What was I really doing, walking in there with my bad haircut and ridiculous shirt? Was I there to make something right? Or was I just using a messed up situation to indulge myself, grasping at some desperate delusion of control? Maybe the two went hand in hand more than I cared to admit.
Most everything about the game is a disconnect from the series to me. Even the cutscenes are different. There's no more comic panels in between the chapters. In fact, now you get a way too frequent live action cinematic with a gaudy glitch effect over it. Kill a couple bad guys, cutscene. Walk across the room, cutscene. This is my biggest dislike of the game, I think. I mean, they just don't look good, and it limits the amount of environmental storytelling that could be had in the game because nearly everything is explained or highlighted in a cutscene. At least Rockstar stuck with the linear approach for the game and didn't pursue an open world as they tend to do. With that said, Max Payne 3 is a baller-ass game. On its own standing, the game is a great time. The shooting is crisp, the action scenes are some of Rockstar's best, the final shootout in the airport over the amazing soundtrack of Hell's Tears is one of the greatest action set pieces in gaming history. Not just Max Payne, like all of gaming. I love the setting of the game. The favelas of Brazil are beautiful and nerve-wracking to traverse when there's seemingly a giant target on your bald head. The level design is just so good, from the already mentioned favelas and the airport to the Tietê River and contributing docks and cargo yards, nightclubs that put Ragnarok to shame, and even Max's old stomping grounds of Hoboken, and some particularly well done flashback sequences. Max Payne 3 is a great example of IPs changing developers for a sequel. In this case, the game was still amazing, but it's only superficially similar and doesn't quite sit right with the established series. So where does the series stand now? Max Payne is a name that will surely never be forgotten in gaming history. The first title was as innovative as it comes in not only gameplay by popularizing the third-person shooter and bullet time mechanics, but perhaps more importantly by incorporating meaningful narrative into action games. The second game further cemented these themes into the mix. Remedy Entertainment incorporated such deep character exploration of a protagonist in a game that most people would see on the surface as any other shoot-'em-up game. But they made Max Payne a human, with emotions and motivations and a big ass chip on his shoulder. They fractured his psyche and traumatized him, and still made him seem like he should be an action hero. They complement this disconnect by highlighting his flaws, not whitewashing them. He gains health from painkillers, and anytime he has a second, he's swinging back something to put hair on his chest. He has simple goals and achieves them motivated by vengeance in the first game and protecting someone he loves in the second game. The games also glorify and idolize a lot of the American themes from the outside looking in. Since Remedy is located in Finland, they have an almost romanticized look at American noir, detective stories, and of course, ultra-violence.
You know I walk. You'll walk with a lift!
As a character, Max is as fleshed out as they come, especially in a game that's 100% action. Rockstar developed the third game without Remedy's involvement, and it really shows. The game ended up as a disconnect to the series. A lot of the vague themes are there, but you can swap out any character for Max Payne and the game would really be no different. Max Payne 3 sold well, but selling enough is never quite enough for Rockstar to continue a sequel. It has to bring in crazy dollars, which I don't think Max Payne has the potential to do. Like I said, he's not a AAA guy. The send-off at the end of 3 was a really good ending, but the opening is there if Rockstar decided to pursue a sequel, or if Remedy wanted to buy the IP back now that they are massive in the industry themselves. But perhaps it's best to let Max rest. From the death of his family to many more friends in between, maybe taking a relaxing drink on the beach and walking into the sunset is the final closure that he needs. As always, thank you for watching. I do hope you enjoyed, and I hope to see you next time. Peace.
The 55th Battalion of the City Police's Special Forces Unit, who have been implicated in human trafficking, has been disbanded indefinitely. Meanwhile, Victor Bronco, the politician at the center of the scandal, who is accused of laundering money from the scheme to fund his political campaign for mayor, was yesterday found hanged in his police cell. It's not yet clear whether his death was a suicide or simply retribution for his part in a scandal that has so many families missing loved ones that were kidnapped and killed. City officials say a full investigation
Local
is
justice.
underway. Local residents expressed outrage as if they have been let down by both law enforcement and city leaders. And now, your local forecast. Boy, it's dark in some places, but it's sunny everywhere else. Over to Marisol with the weather.